Today's Wednesday, November 3rd. It's 9 o'clock. Commission Secretary, would you please call the roll? Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Perfect. Well, it's a great day to be here in Kansas City. I want to welcome those who are watching live stream with us here today. We're going to start our meeting with a brief safety emphasis. Greg McDonald, the maintenance supervisor, is going to share with us what we need to do in case of an emergency today. Greg? Oh, it's Mayor Greg. It's his nickname.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Gregory McDowell. Welcome to Kansas City. I'm Gregory McDowell. I am the supervisor at Mulberry, which is the team that takes care of all the downtown loop. I have a few safety reminders for the morning. In the event of a fire, everyone exit the door you came into and go to the right downstairs, one floor exit the hotel onto Wyandotte Street and proceed down the hill towards 16th Street. Please do not use the elevators. In case of there is a small fire, there's a fire extinguisher in the rear of the corner of the room. Behind the podium, okay. By the podium, AV podium. I have asked Travis Kelsey to retain and use the fire extinguishers if needed. The AED is located in the hallway. Mary Miller, if we must escape this room, please take a moment to make notes of who you are sitting by. Next to Phil. You arrive at the designated area, so you guys will be together. Be safe in the location that your neighbors is arrived safe to. If there's a medical emergency, most people in the rooms are certified in the CPRS. Chris Redline will call 911. He's located in the back. An emergency response to our location at 1515 Wyandotte Street. Area schools have volunteered to admit to CPR, and Becky Alderman will assist therein if necessary. There is an AED in the hallway on this floor. And Travis Kelsey will return the AED in the event of an emergency. A sensitive subject, but one must be discussed. I want to bring to your attention what to do if there is an intruder and an actual shooting. There are 3 basic procedures to follow in case of an actual shooter. Run, hide, and fight. Run and escape as possible. Get away from the shooters or shooters is the top priority. Hide if escape is not possible. If you cannot exit the building, find a safe place to hide. Try to barricade the door. Make yourself safe, turn off your cell phone and turn down the lights. Fight as assaults like the last resorts. Throw items and amenities, weapons to throw like chairs, fire extinguishers, and books to distract disarmed shooters. This concludes today's safety minutes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Greg. We got to spend some time with Greg before the meeting. You want to know, guy's got his hands full. Maintenance supervisor, downtown Kansas City. I talked to him after the meeting. He's got some good stories. Next, I want to review a few procedural items. I want to remind everyone that we have a public comment period, and we're pleased to offer this to every Missourian that wants to come before the commission and to address an issue of concern. Any of you that would like to address the commission, please sign up before 9:30. A reminder is that you'll have 5 minutes for public comment and 10 minutes per subject. Next item is abstentions. There are commissioners that, because of land ownership or business interest, or lawyers that may represent clients that may either have some relationship to a matter coming before the commission and may have a potential or actual conflict of interest to be considered or voted upon. The commission member will indicate if he or she chooses to abstain from voting or to recuse himself from participating in discussion of an agenda item. If an agenda item is divisible by contract, call, project, or like, the commissioner may specify that particular matter and then vote on the remainder of the agenda item. This information has been provided to the commission secretary by letter in advance of the meeting. The commission secretary will duly indicate the abstentions or recusals according to the meetings and the minutes. Madam Secretary, have these necessary letters been prepared? Thank you. The first item is an action item, a consideration of minutes. The regular meeting of August 4th, 2021 and September 9th, 2021, and a special meeting on August 31st, 21 and September 8th of 21. Are there any additions or corrections to the meetings?
Move we approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a move for the approval and the second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next business item is the considerations of items on the consent agenda. Does anyone need to remove any item or for discussion later or abstain from an item? Do we have a motion for second and approval?
So moved.
Second.
All opposed, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item we have Mr. Andrew Nelson from the City of Republic. I'm going to search you in the agenda. Would like to just say a few words to the commission.
Thank you, Commissioners, Director McKenna, Chief Hassinger. On behalf of the mayor and the city council of the City of Republic, we just want to thank you for your support on our cost share application. That was a item on the consent agenda that you just approved. We appreciate the opportunity to partner on an investment into transportation. And I wanted to communicate, and David Cameron, our city administrator, mentioned it at the last commission meeting, but we are also going to invest in our municipal utilities in the same area. And we believe that investment in transportation and municipal utilities will yield continued growth and economic development in our area. So we really, really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Our next order of business is to receive committee and board reports. I serve on the audit committee, and Commissioners Briscoe and Ecker also serve on the audit committee. I'll give today's report. The audit committee met on October 28th, 2021 with Mr. Ted Williamson, our external auditor from Reuben Brown. Williamson presented the fiscal year 2021 annual comprehensive financial report, including the independent audit report. Missouri state law requires an annual audit of Modot's financial statements be performed by an independent certified public accountants. Audited financial statements are also required by the commission's bond covenants. Wait till you hear this. I'm pleased to report that for the 22nd consecutive year, Modot has received an unmodified clean opinion. Brendan Morris and Ted Williamson will later provide a presentation on the annual report. The next audit committee has not been scheduled yet. Next item is Commissioners Briscoe and I serve as co-chairs for the legislative committee. And he'll give today's report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, all right, thanks. During the summer and now into the fall months, district engineers, area engineers, and government relations staff have all been actively reaching out to our House and Senate elected officials to provide them with information regarding planned projects as outlined in the commission approved 5-year statewide transportation and improvement program. During these visits with legislators, staff took the opportunity to address constituent needs that have been brought to the attention of the elected officials, as well as educate them on information provided in the Citizens Guide. The first day for pre-filing legislation for the 2022 session of the Missouri General Assembly is December 1. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith serves as president of the NTFC, and Commissioners Water and Eckert are board members. Commissioner Smith will provide the report for you today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board met on October 22nd. At this meeting, the board accepted the fiscal year 2021 financial statement audit presented by Williams Keepers LLC. The board approved a one-year renewal option with Williams Keepers to perform audit services for fiscal year 2022. The board approved to amend the term from 10 to 15 years for a previously approved loan to the city of Poplar Bluff totaling $8,871,000 for the reconstruction of Route 67 to a divided multi-lane interstate highway facility from Route 160 south to County Road 338. Board also approved a loan to the city of Poplar Bluff totaling $9,535,262 for the reconstruction of Route 67 to a divided multi-lane interstate highway facility from County Road 338 to County Road 352. The next MTFC meeting is scheduled for February 2nd of 2022. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Smith, Boatwright, and I also serve on the Emperor's Board. Today's Commissioner Boatwright will provide a report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board has not met since our last board meeting or since our last commission meeting. There is an audit commission committee meeting set for November the 5th. And then our next board meeting for Emperors is set for November the 18th. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Boatwright. As chairman, I serve on the Missouri Coalition for Road Safety Executive Committee and will provide a report today. The Missouri Coalition Road Safety Executive Committee did not meet this month, but some items of note have taken place since our last meeting. First, the 5th annual Buckle Up Phone Down Day was held in February, October 22nd. Modot, along with other coalition partners, used the day to highlight the Buckle Up Phone Down message, which addresses two of the four emphasis areas in Missouri Strategic Highway Safety Plan, Show Me Zero. There are many highlights of the day that have been compiled in a video clip that we're going to share with you. You want to show that now?
Hi, I'm Governor Mike Carson. I'm pleased to declare Buckle Up Phone Down Day in Missouri to encourage all Missourians to take two simple actions to save lives on Missouri highways. Fasten your seatbelts and put our phones down while driving. I would like to challenge you to take the pledge to always buckle up and put your phone down. We can't lose sight of the fact that traffic accidents continue to claim the lives of hundreds of Missourians each year. We can all take simple steps like wearing seatbelts and not driving distracted to help make Missourians safer. Together, we can create a better Missouri.
Hey, Bob. Join the Buckle Up Phone Down Challenge. Pledge to buckle up and keep your phone down while driving. Take a picture and tag it with the hashtag Buckle Up Phone Down.
I'm Governor Tony Evers encouraging you to take the Buckle Up Phone Down pledge.
Cell phones are extremely convenient until they distract you from the full-time job of driving. No phone call or text is worth risking your life or the life of other motorists. Today, somewhere in Missouri, there will be a traffic crash where someone is injured or killed because someone was not paying attention. If you feel a phone call, text, or email can't wait, pull off the roadway and find a safe, legal place to stop. The Missouri State Highway Patrol challenges all motorists to buckle up and put their phone down, not just today, but every day. By working together, we can reduce the number of traffic crashes and save lives.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Montier,
And I'm Dr. Dustin Neal. We're trauma surgeons at University Health.
one of the busiest emergency rooms and trauma centers in the city.
While we're nice guys, you don't want to meet us here.
There's a simple way to avoid us and our staff.
Buckle up, phones down. Buckle up, phones down. Buckle up.
Phones down.
We're proud to join the Missouri Department of Transportation to spread this simple message.
When you get behind the wheel, buckle up, phones down.
If we all do our part and always drive buckled up and phones down, we can save lives on the state highways, and there's nothing more important. Thank you.
That's cool. I think it was a pretty successful day. Our committee, at our last meeting, we decided to seek 2 additional members to serve on that executive committee. We're pleased to announce that AAA will serve a term on the committee and represented by Angela Nelson, Vice President of Public Affairs and Governmental Relations. In addition, we extended and received affirmative by the Missouri Police Chiefs Association. We're pleased to announce that Terry Foster, Chief of Police of Moscow Mills, will represent that association. And we look forward to carrying those 2 people on our next committee meetings. As we look forward, the next committee meeting will be in March. We'll remind all Missourians there are 4 simple things you do to keep the road safe: is buckle up, phone down, slow down, drive sober. We encourage everyone to make these commitments today, especially as we approach the holiday season. So what's interesting is that 3 people will die today on our roads. 2 of them won't have seatbelts on. That's unacceptable. And that's about 800 or 900 people a year dying here. So we're making concentrated effort on changing that. And the buckle up, phone down was initiated here in Missouri, and you see all the other states that have adopted it. It's pretty cool. And we are working on making that a national deal. So next item is a non-action item, Modot Director's Report. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, and thanks everybody for being here today. To follow on with the Buckle Up, Phone Down campaign, several of us were in San Diego for a couple days last week with the National AASHTO annual meeting. First time we've met as a body since the pandemic started. And I tell you, there's excitement about the Buckle Up, Phone Down campaign. Our staff is so quickly on this with the day. The Wisconsin team had just fully adopted Buckle Up, Phone Down. You could see the governor, there was an announcement, but that was a whole day of rollouts where they had the highway patrol. They met at many high schools. They went all over the state and did a full rollout. They were so excited about it and came up to tell me about it. And I said, "Oh, we're gonna have your governor in our commission report just next week." And I forwarded him the video that you just saw, and that went back to the governor. They're absolutely thrilled with that. And Alabama and Iowa and several other states, Kansas, they're really trying to roll forward with this. We have made some progress at the national level. We've been trying to encourage the NHTSA, the National Traffic Safety Agency, to look at this and study it. They won't fund a campaign until they have very detailed behavioral research behind it. And we've been made aware that they're actually going to pilot this in multiple places around the country, and they're going to bring in behavioral scientists to study the impact. We know the impact in Missouri. We believe it had an increase in the first couple of years of us putting it out of safety belt use of almost 7%, which is unheard of, particularly in an area without a primary safety belt. It's a similar spike to when a primary safety belt law goes on the books. And we were able to do that on a voluntary basis here in Missouri. So we do think that this very simple message is so important, and it is spreading around the country. And it's really fun to meet with our colleagues at AASHTO and around the country and see them take it and make it their own. That's the best part about it. We didn't trademark any of this. Maybe we should have, but we didn't because it's too important to hold tight. It's one of those things you want to share. And I can't tell you how proud I am of our team to sustain the effort. Sometimes you put a little splashy thing out to start with, and then it kind of peters out. This has been sustained for 5 years now. It's really extraordinary. It's a lot of fun, and it's making a difference. And that difference is no more important than now, particularly on the behavioral side. At that meeting last week, Secretary Buttigieg rolled out from USDOT, rolled out the 6-month figures on fatalities nationwide. There's been an increase of fatalities nationwide of 18% year on year. That's the biggest increase in over 40 years. And it's horrifying. It's over 21,000 people lost their lives on the nation's highways in the first 6 months of the year. That it has the entire administration reeling and looking for ways to make a difference here. And I think that we've found one of those, and we're hoping that support through NHTSA is going to carry forward. A couple of weeks ago, Chairman Brinkman and I further provided communication. We reported last month that we have submitted a budget plan that rolls through the administration and the legislative process for both the supplemental for the remainder of fiscal year 22, as well as our plan for fiscal year 23. We've since provided additional details to the Office of Administration detailing those personal services spending requests that have been made in our budget submittal. Also, during October, with the Commission's approval, we were able to use existing budget authority in fiscal 22 to provide a limited salary increase of approximately 50 cents per hour to our non-supervisory employees directly involved in delivering our winter operations priorities. I was about 2,700 people with that. We know that doesn't solve the whole problem, but it was the Commission asked us to shake out the seat cushions and to make sure that we were doing everything we could within our existing budgetary appropriations to make a difference here. And we've done that. That went into effect October 1st. So just this past couple days was the first time that our employees would have seen that increase in their rate of pay. Wasn't enough to do everything we wanted everywhere, but it was meaningful, I think, for those that are in the front lines. And as we've reported, we have had considerable turnover, and we are short for our professional equipment operators, our equipment techs, all across the board for our winter coming in. Our team is working diligently. We're going to have everybody available and working during winter maintenance, but we have reported out with the limitations on staff. If we have a statewide event that goes through multiple shifts, it's going to take us longer to get the job done. Our goals haven't changed, but it's going to take longer, and we're starting to make sure that the public is aware of that. But keep in mind that everyone available at Modot for this action will be in the snow fight and working for the safety of the traveling public. The actions that we're doing and the work we're doing through the budget is really to address employee turnover. We've now had 7 straight months where we have had more than 70 people leave the department. And the primary issue is pay in this market. And actually the last 4 months, it's been over 80. So this is an ongoing problem. And it's a problem that the Commission has instructed us to fix. And that's our intention. We have to make that case, and we'll continue to make that case publicly. And we're trying to work through all the specifics of those actions now. when we look at turnover over the last several years, more than 60% of the organization has turned over in the last 4.5 years. That, some turnover is healthy as people retire and move to other areas. But when we're up in the 13 to 15% turnover per year, and when you consider the knowledge and skill that's required to do the jobs that are necessary to keep the public safe at Modot, the time to train, the time to gain that experience and judgment out in the field, and with our project development and throughout the enterprise, it is an urgent and pressing matter, and we continue to advance that. I just want to thank the commission for their support and their leadership in this area, and we will keep the commission updated as we go throughout the budget process. We had this section to talk about a federal transportation bill update. There it is. Not to go tongue in cheek here, but there obviously has been not the action we would have liked in the past month to pass the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. There's been another extension of that surface transportation authorization. That's really the critical component of that bill, is to keep our program rolling. It's rolling at current levels. One bit of good news, because in these periods where we have dislocations in the primary authorization, if there are not sufficient resources in the National Highway Trust Fund, we can roll into areas where we have cash management techniques, meaning not enough money to reimburse states for the work that's been already authorized with federal reimbursement. And we had been informed about 60 days ago that those techniques were going to start going into effect right about now. We've been since informed by USDOT and Federal Highway that there has been, let's just say they found $4.7 billion, and that's not going to be a problem for a little while. And that's a really good thing. So that's the primary update, is that we will not suffer any type of cash dislocation on reimbursements. We were prepared, as we have been in the past, to make sure that our contractors were paid on time for the work that they're doing in Missouri. The commission's stewardship of the fund, and frankly, when you look at the audit findings and the work that our financial services team does to manage and steward the state road fund, we're in a position to do that in a way that many other states are not. But the good news is we will not have to go through that until probably sometime in the middle of the spring, if there hasn't been action on the long-term bill by then. We're all still quite confident that a reauthorization will happen, because a reauthorization must happen. This has to be done every 5 or 6 years, and we're in that cycle now. And so we're confident. We're actually very supportive of the bill in its present form that went through the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee. AASHTO and Missouri participated in many sessions and put a lot of information into that. We feel that a lot of our priorities, as a matter of fact, at the National Association, we had 10 primary priorities, and 9 of the 10 are fully embedded in that bill. The only one that isn't is a long-term solution to the transportation funding issue in the Highway Trust Fund. The manner that this bill will solve that problem is essentially just to transfer general revenue, about $90 billion, into the Highway Trust Fund over the next several years. That's not ideal, but it's better than having the authorization and the cash run out. So we still have a lot of work to go. We're hopeful that we'll get there. I'm sure you've all seen it in the news. There are, I think we're down to 6 people holding up the progress of the entire nation here. And that's a little frustrating, but that's part of the process, and we'll keep you updated on that as well. On October 12th, we participated in a groundbreaking for the replacement of the existing 4-lane I-70 Missouri River Bridge at Rocheport. Fantastic event. This is a $240 million project, and it's going to build 2 bridges in its place. We did have commissioners on hand, along with Governor Carson. U.S. Representative Vicky Hartzler was there. Staff for Senator Blunt and Hawley, state representatives and senators from mid-Missouri, and elected officials from Boone and Cooper counties in the city of Columbia who put skin in the game into this project and was really one of the reasons why we got the federal infrastructure grant to be able to advance that project. It was a good day and it's a big win. And we do have a summary video of the event.
As you all know, the bridge is reaching the end of its useful life. Rehabbing it would have only extended it by about 10 years and had the potential to cause 3 to 8 hours worth of backups. This bridge carries 12.5 million vehicles per year, with 3.6 million of those being semi-trucks. Those trucks in a 48-hour period carry goods and services to the lower 48 states. These factors really drive home the importance of this project and the significance of the work that still remains. So with this project, we will be receiving 2 bridges, each with a 100-year life of service. And I think it's safe to say that without the leadership and support of Governor Mike Parsons, this project would not have come to fruition. So I'd like to invite the governor now to say a few words.
Missouri is on the right track. We have to continue to build our infrastructure in this state. And when you do build that infrastructure, it's why we are now a leader in the United States on distribution centers coming to our state. Because anybody that's in business, there's 3 words they'll always tell you to remember. It's called location, location, location. And the one thing Missouri has over any other state in the United States is location. We're right in the center of the United States. We have some of the best rail systems. We have some of the best road systems. We have the airports, we have the rivers. What we need to do is upgrade that and make sure we expand them and keep going so our state will keep growing.
Everybody around here understood the importance and found the funding necessary to get this passed. And so I appreciate everyone's work on this. And it was so exciting when they made the announcement that we received the $81.2 million Infrastructure for Rebuilding American grant, which enables this $240 million project to replace these 4 lanes and make 6 brand new lanes. So this is truly a joint effort. I'm excited about it and what this will mean for this area. This has real world practical implications, and I'm excited for what this is going to mean for our state. I'm thankful for everyone's joint efforts to make this happen. I look forward to seeing this built, and I appreciate those who are on the front line making this happen. Congratulations. God bless.
This project really illustrates what can happen when good people, elected officials at the local, state, and federal level work together to get things done. But, this type of cooperation and communication shouldn't be restricted to just a bridge. It happened in our pandemic response. It happens every day in our economic development activities. And I'm so proud to work with Governor Carson and Director McKinney.
The commission came to me several years ago and they said, let's get going. Let's get some things on the books and let's get it rolling. And so I brought them a plan for the Rocheport Bridge. And I said, here's the plan in a nutshell. We're hanging by a thread and we need to throw a Hail Mary. And they said, that's your plan? I said, yeah, that's the plan. I think it's going to work. So what we did is we really studied the infra grant at the federal level. We worked with local partners. We worked all the way through up to Congress, and we focused on this bridge because, quite frankly, here today, I believe the move on this bridge is the single inflection point. It's the turning point in Missouri for infrastructure. Before we had the ability financially to get this bridge done, everything seemed like it was getting in worse shape. Ever since we've been able to put the financial plan in place for this, and I tell you, you've heard it, the partnership at the local level, working with our congressional delegation, we knew how important the local engagement and financial support was. That was a key factor that enabled Senator Blunt, Congressman Hartzler, Congressman Graves, Senator Hawley, and the whole delegation to bring forward with strength of conviction that the local area was involved in this. They were putting their financial resources in place, and it's all because of the leadership, starting with Cooper County all the way through the governor of Missouri and our federal delegation. I want to thank everybody for being here. I thank everybody for your support. This is a great day for Missouri, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it really, the governor said it well, and it's with his vision and support and the work of the commission and the leadership that's been expressed that Missouri's on the right track. I really do feel that Rocheport is that turning point for us. And, you know, we've got that financial plan in place a couple of years ago, and here we are at just recently at groundbreaking. And that set the table for the Focus on Bridge program, which set the table for SB 262, the gas tax, to pass. And here we are on the cusp of a multi-year federal bill that will inject billions of dollars into the state of Missouri. So wonderful time ahead of us, a lot of work to prepare for that. But it really comes with not only political leadership, but good hard work on the part of the commission and the department, our industry partners, and you know, the communities that we serve. So these types of events are more than just symbolic. They really do show how important all of the work that we do is, and what an impact it has on the traveling public. The next item is another good news item, and it involves similar partnerships. And we've talked about this before, but the completed Route 54 Mississippi River Bridge at Louisiana, known as the Champ Clark Bridge, has recently received some significant national awards. You can see a little bit of hardware up here. Pretty fun to see. We have the leadership of the team here today, and I'd like to invite them to come forward and tell us about these significant awards from the Associated General Contractors and Design Build Institute of America. We've got Michael Massman is here. We've got Mark Schnoblin from Massman, and TJ Colombato is here as well. Good to see you, TJ. We saw him out on the river yesterday. So fast to work. They don't. Massman doesn't rest on their laurels from one major project to the next. And how fortunate we are here in Missouri to have such a fantastic local family-run company that's been doing this important work for over 100 years. Really, I think you might have a couple years on the commission in terms of staying power in the state. But I'll turn it over, and you know, we've also got Modot project directors Brandy Baldwin. Did I see Brandy's here, and Keith Killen as well. He's here with us. So I'll turn it over. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much for the kind introduction and for having me here today. Like Director McKenna said, here to talk about the Champ Clark Bridge Replacement Project. It's one that we're very proud of, both for how the project went during the construction, but also for some of the hardware that it got, helped us refresh the decorations in our office here in town. If you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide. So quick refresher on what the project was. Design build contract, new crossing of the Mississippi River. And it was the first time that design build had been used to cross the river in an 8-state region. Previous contracts up in Minnesota, where it's a bit more of a creek, and then down in Louisiana had used design build, but really in a pretty broad swath of the country, this was breaking new ground in terms of contracting model. It was, I believe, the first Northeast District design build project, and then by virtue of its connection to Illinois, the first project Illinois DOT had actually completed using that contract model. So it's kind of a trial run for them, different approach from that perspective. So also with Massman, want to recognize Agc, our design partner. We have Hans Hudden, who was our design manager on the project, based about 2 blocks over here downtown Kansas City as well. So The existing bridge, I believe some of you had the opportunity to tour it. It was not a fun one to drive over. The new one is more than twice as wide. So it's a significant safety improvement. It also, the existing bridge was near the end of its lifespan. And this has a 100-year service life with a pretty innovative overlay that will help preserve the condition of the deck. We were awarded the contract back in 2017, opened it ahead of schedule in 2019, and wrapped up the contract early last year. If you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide, please. So just another cool picture. I know you guys were able to visit the Buck O'Neill job site. If you come back in next April, May timeframe, we'll be able to take a few more pictures like this one. Next slide, please. So a couple awards at one. I'm not going to go through all of these because that would be a pretty long discussion, but mix of national and local awards, highlighting a lot of the different successes of the project, everything from DBE participation and workforce diversity to the implementation of the design build contract model, but recognized by a variety of industry associations. Some of those are very significant. The DBIA National Award of Excellence for Transportation signified that it was the best in the mind of the judges there. Design build contract across all of transportation in the country for that year. Next slide, please. But the ones that us contractors are really excited about are from the Associated General Contractors of America, one of the leading construction industry associations. I think they have 27,000 something members, representing all parts of construction all over the country. They also have local chapters, but the National AGC Awards, what they call the Build America Awards, which across the categories recognize the top projects for each of that type. We've won a handful of these, so these are a really big deal for us as a contractor. So we were thrilled to hear that Champ Clark won in the design build civil category, recognizing it as the top design build civil project in the country for that year. The one we were really excited about was the Marvin M. Black Partnering Excellence Award. I think that is a testament to the entire project team that partnering is very much a two-way street, and I think it's a testament to Modot's very much focus on shared success, focus on shared positive outcomes for the project, especially with the design build crossing for a high risk, high reward project like Mississippi River Bridge. This was one we're absolutely thrilled about to receive a merit award, which means it was one of the top 3 partnering projects across all categories of construction, not just design build or civil or heavy transportation. So Mark and TJ and I made it down to the AGC convention. We were pretty happy getting called up to stage twice for those two. And then at the very end of the ceremony, they announced the Grand Award, which is selected from the Build America Award recipients in each of the categories as the single best construction project in the country for that year across all types of construction, all types of contract delivery models. And we were shocked. We knew the project was great, but just with that competition, we were pretty surprised to be hauled back up to stage a third time to accept the Grand Award as the best project in the country. So just wanted to highlight that as a really great accomplishment. Obviously, we're proud of it ourselves, but I think it's a testament to Modot as well, especially because of the partnering component and how significant that is to project success. So I wanted to thank you for helping us win that award, I guess. Next slide, please. So that's just a picture of us up on stage and a bit of AGC's propaganda about what the awards are. They won't come out and say they're the most prestigious awards, but they say they're recognized by many as the most prestigious, which I think is just a funny way of phrasing it. But anyway, that's what I had. So I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we're here again in a few years talking about Buck O'Neill's success.
That's right. Okay. You know, to run on a consistent theme here, I mentioned we were out in San Diego for the AASHTO annual meeting last week, and we were able to bring Keith Killen out as well because Keith was awarded the President's Transportation Award at the AASHTO meeting. And the award's given to an employee who provides exemplary service during the year, furthering the transportation activities of his or her member department or committee, which is potentially or could have a salutary effect on transportation nationwide or on a regional basis. And it's awarded for Keith's outstanding leadership and dedication that he provided during the completion of the Champ Clark Bridge project. So, more than a decade ago, Keith began working on the detailed environmental assessment process, collaborating with Illinois DOT. He developed an extensive public involvement process, including using a citizens advisory group representing the diverse needs of the communities on both sides of the Mississippi River. Keith worked on the application and was instrumental in securing a federal grant of $10 million for the bridge. And boy, we were right to the edge of that obligating period to get that in place. I think we were down to hours, not just days. And we had a lot of partnering all the way through Congress on that one, which was great. He continued to provide his leadership and passion to the project through the design, build, and the completion of the new bridge. And I have to tell you, one of the things that was done, and I know TJ was there that day as well, but we brought a freshman tour a couple legislative sessions ago. We brought the freshman legislators out in a couple buses that got to drive on the old bridge to cross and realize just how tight it was. And they saw the exposed structure as it was being built. And frankly, that group of legislators, I believe we went back and checked, but nearly 100% of them voted for the gas tax bill. Keith gave an incredible presentation that really lined out the importance of transportation, and TJ did as well. And I believe that is the type of thing that helps us win those public support. And that was a big ask of sophomore legislators, and they came through big time for the state of Missouri. Keith was well deserving of this award, and to be recognized nationally by his peers for it that says a lot. We're really proud of that, and the partnering that you see demonstrated here was also recognized by AASHTO, and Keith is here. I think we've got a little video here of this. Do we have? Yeah, we've got the video.
This year's President's Transportation Award for Performance Excellence goes to Keith Killen from the Missouri Department of Transportation. Nearly 12 years ago, Keith was selected to oversee the environmental assessment process for a new Champ Clark Bridge in Louisiana, Missouri, on U.S. Route 54 over the Mississippi River. The narrow and structurally deficient bridge had served as a connection between Illinois and Missouri for 90 years. A few years after the environmental assessment was completed, Keith was instrumental in securing a federal grant of $10 million to help replace the aging structure. In 2016, Keith was officially named as project director. Keith was very passionate about this project and worked hard to ensure it was well executed while providing great value to the taxpayers. As MC of the grand opening ceremony for the Champ Clark Bridge, Keith kept the audience of more than 500 citizens enthralled with his energetic personality while displaying a respectful sense of pride, knowing he and his team achieved success. Excellent work and congratulations.
I think it'd be a great idea to bring Keith up, and the award is here, but we'll stage this because you already received it, right? So if we could maybe get the commission to come and take a picture, and it'd be probably great to have the Massman team up, and maybe we could stand behind their hardware as well. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I can't top those. That's the end of my report. Thank you, sir.
I've been to about 40 of these reports. That's about the best one I've seen. Congratulations. Great discussion concerning Patrick's report.
I just want to say thank you, Patrick, for that terrific report. Best one we've ever had, I think. So we all appreciate that.
Okay, the next item is a non-action item. Presentation by the Mid-America Regional Council. Mayor Carson Ross is with us today of Blue Springs, and Vice Chair and Ron Hicklepole with the same group. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Chairman Brinkman, members of the commission, Director McKenna, Modot staff, good morning and welcome to Kansas City on behalf of the Mid-America Regional Council, commonly known as MARC. I'm Carson Ross, mayor of the great city of Blue Springs, and I serve as MARC's first vice chair and Missouri co-chair of our Total Transportation Policy Committee. It's always a pleasure to have the commission and Modot leadership in our region. And we thank you for the important work that you do to support and improve the safety, quality of life, and economic vitality of our state and region. It is a long-standing point of pride for MARC that we continue to maintain and strengthen our strong planning partnership with MODOT, and the commission in our role as Kansas City's Council of Governments and Metropolitan Planning Organization. We've done great work together, whether it's been big things like securing funding for the Buck O'Neill crossing, day-to-day successes like coordinating traffic incident responses between Kansas City Scout and Operation Green Light, traffic signals, or longer-term planning through our recent work to prioritize unfunded needs with Chris Redline's district team. And also, on a personal note, in Blue Springs, we have a sidewalk program going on right now that MoDOT has helped us with, because there are, and MoDOT's a state highway, naturally, but there are pockets of areas that don't have sidewalks. Now, we require as a city that you have sidewalks if new development is going in, but some of those businesses existed before that went into effect. And there are also some undeveloped areas. And so we're putting sidewalks in because I cringe as mayor when I see people walking on the side of a busy highway and people going at great speeds. I also see people with strollers with babies in it. But more than that, that really gets me, I see motorized wheelchairs with passengers on the back. And I mean, it's just an accident waiting to happen. And so we want to thank you for working with us. Hopefully we will be able to close all those gaps in the near future. We congratulate you as the beneficiary of the successful efforts by the governor and legislature to increase statewide funding, and look forward to working with you and your staff to ensure these funds are well prioritized to meet the needs of the people and businesses of Missouri. And I can remember when we did that, and most of you probably know I served 14 years in the Missouri House of Representatives from 1988 to the end of 2002. So we had some challenges back then, and we were able to accomplish some great things, but we know the voters in Missouri hate to think about tax increases. Maybe they'd rather go get front-end alignments, I don't know. We know that these funds won't address all of the current and future needs, but we are confident that by working together, we'll prioritize them and they will be used effectively. Now, at this time, I'd like to introduce Ron Hicklepole, MARC Director of Transportation and Environment, and he can share some information about regional transportation trends, needs, and priorities that will influence our planning partnership. And thank you for this opportunity of being here. Ron.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Good morning. I just want to second the mayor's comments about our partnership with Modot. It's really important to us. It's something that we've worked hard on over the years, and it's working well. I did want to introduce myself. I started my career with Modot and really still take the lessons about public service, quality improvement, public stewardship that I learned there into the work I do now. So I have really fond feelings about Modot and really appreciate the working relationship we have. I put a bunch of information in your packets about this presentation. I promise I'll go through it quickly. I did want to just highlight a few of the key trends that we are looking at in the Kansas City area as we do our long-range planning and our programming work with you. I'll start with population growth. The census is out. We've grown as a region about 9.7%. On the Missouri side, a little slower than that. Our growth is different this time than it's been in past censuses, and I think that there are several things about it that may impact the way we address transportation planning in the region. One of them is that the really significant factor is that most of the population growth, the vast majority in our region, is from people of color. It's the first time in a census that we've seen that. So our demographics are changing as a region and may impact some of the outreach engagement work and needs that we're focused on in the metro area. We have two of the fastest growing counties in the state, in the Kansas City area. In our Northland, both Clay and Platte counties grew above double-digit rates. Platte County grew at a 19.5% rate in this last census. So we are adding people to the region in the Kansas City area. We're growing in all parts of the region. This census, we also saw a reduction in decline in the urban core and in the areas that we've been focused on for redevelopment. That's a trend that we are pleased to see. We've been working very hard on all of our planning work to try and restore the health of the center of the region while the suburban parts of the region grow as well. I'm sorry for the lag here. I did also want to just share that Mark and Modot have worked together for a long time in the performance-based planning process. Modot's really a national leader in the use of performance targets and integrating performance-based planning into your work. I wanted to share some of the results of a recent performance report that we issued, where we're frankly concerned. We've got a number of the performance measures that Director McKenna talked about are moving in the wrong direction in our region. We are seeing some good success in our travel time reliability. We hope that's not just anomalous based on recent trends that happened with the shutdowns during the pandemic. But we have another set of measures that we're just not making a lot of progress on. I'll focus on the good ones and the ones that we're most concerned about this morning. In terms of travel time reliability, we're meeting our targets right now. It's the 2020 timeframe, we actually exceeded it as traffic volumes really reduced. I think that there was a strong correlation between that and the traffic safety issues that we're concerned about. But both on the interstates and non-interstate national highway system, we're currently meeting our travel time reliability targets. For truck travel time reliability on interstates, we're also meeting the targets there. In this graph, the good is towards the bottom, and so in 2020 we sort of exceeded them greatly. We're coming back. That said, there still are areas in the region that do have congestion issues that we've got our eye on, and they include some of Modot's corridors, I-70 in particular, 49, I-29 and 35, and there is work underway to look at all of those. In terms of fatalities, we in the early part of the century, we saw some really encouraging reductions in traffic deaths nationally, in the state, and in the Kansas City area. They're trending back up. They're trending back up in a very concerning way, and it's an area that we work on with Modot closely on. We really need to keep our eye on this. We also are seeing an uptick in serious injury crashes in the region, which is very troubling, and we're not currently meeting the targets that we've set for them as part of our work with the FAST Act targets. And we're also very concerned about non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. As Mayor Ross said, this issue of pedestrian safety is really becoming a much more significant one for the metro area. In our planning work, most of the dollars that we've identified for the transportation system over the life of our plan, which I'll talk about in a minute, is really focused on keeping the condition of the system in good repair. We're doing a pretty good job in the region with the interstate system, but the non-interstate pavements are not meeting our targets and are trending in the wrong direction. We're seeing the same troubling trends with our bridge conditions. We've made good progress on them, but region-wide, we're right now meeting the thresholds, and the trends are not moving in the right direction. One of our roles as a metropolitan planning organization is to develop a long-range plan for the region, and our board adopted the most recent one, which looks out through the year 2050, back in the summer of 2020 in the early part of the pandemic. I just wanted to share a few highlights from that. This is really important because it does really frame the work we do together in our long-range planning work for the region. So we basically have 5 overarching goals for the region's transportation system and 5 key strategies about how we intend to invest the federal resources that come to the region for transportation. 2 of them are really timely in terms of new funding sources. We are really pleased to see the progress in Missouri for the increased motor fuels taxes and using that to prioritize investments, but we do have challenges on the system and on other modes in particular. Our plan includes about $52 billion in anticipated revenues and expenditures over the life of the plan. That includes about $7 billion of fiscally constrained kind of expansion projects and modernization projects, but another $7 billion that we did not have resources to do illustrative projects. $1 billion of that $7 billion are projects that are on Modot system in the metro area. Some of the things that we are focused on in our planning work really are continuing to promote kind of compact land use and growth that supports the centers and corridors that connect our region together. Real focus on complete streets and doing what we have with the system we've got. Being really careful about where we are looking to expand the highway system and looking at ways to incorporate new technologies into the system as well. Got a whole host of plans, projects in this plan. There are about 440 projects listed. Some of the significant ones are shown here. Priorities on the downtown loop here on I-70 to 670, I-70, but a lot of other needs throughout the region as well. So I'll kind of wrap up here. The key challenges that I think we need to keep working on together. We're working with the Greater Kansas City Chamber and a lot of other partners on funding for the region. We are really focused on ways that we can strengthen the public transportation system in the Kansas City area, which I know that Modot does not provide a lot of funding directly for transit, but there are opportunities, I think, for transit improvements on parts of the state system that we might need to work together to focus on. And one of the other planning efforts that we've completed recently is the adoption of a climate action plan for the Kansas City region, which really reinforces these ideas about compact growth and development, providing transportation choices in the region, and also a need to look at where we see vulnerabilities in the transportation system as we may experience more severe flooding in the future and higher temperatures, more hot days during the summer. So with that, I'll just conclude. I think that there are still a number of opportunities for us to continue to partner to advance the transportation system here, really focusing on safety and system condition, system resiliency and environmental stewardship, looking at ways that we can work together to expand transportation choices in the region, and all in a goal of supporting a real vibrant economy for the state and for the region. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks and stand for any questions. And once again, thank you for the opportunity to share this morning.
Ron, thanks for being here. Mayor, thanks for being here. You know, one of the most important things that we have as a commission is information we gain from planning partners. And Mark is one of the elite in the state when it comes to providing information to the commission and to Modot and enabling us to plan projects that are the right projects for the right areas. Because we could do all that, but we want to make sure that the folks on the ground are getting what they need.
And we can't do that without folks like you. And so those partnerships are important, and we greatly appreciate it. So thanks for all you do for us. And, you know, we've been going through this unfunded needs. I don't even know what you call it. But spending a lot of time on unfunded needs and prioritizing and the work that you guys do to help us do that is also appreciated. So thanks for being here, and thanks for the work that you do every day. Appreciate it.
Waters. We do appreciate the work together on that.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out, and thanks, Ron and Mayor, for being here. But, you know, if you want to see a roadmap to the federal bill, this slide is that roadmap. This is a very thought out planning process that Mark did, looking at, you know, not just based on the constraints of the day, but the needs of the system going forward. And these are major priorities that are reflected in the programs and the funding and the requirements of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. So again, that just highlights that Mid-America Regional Council is focused on the things that are also national issues, and so working together on these is going to help us bring additional resources to the state. So really do appreciate the partnership, and I will say that Mid-America Regional Council, their prioritization process, they make hard choices with limited resources, and they stand by those choices. And that makes and sets the table for success. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. Our next public presentation today is from Darren Hennon, who's with the Northland Regional Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. On behalf of the Northland Regional Chamber, it's been said many times, welcome to the Kansas City region. We're excited to have you here. The Northland, my name is Darren Hennon. With me is Jenny Johnston. I'm going to introduce her in just a moment. We have two things we want to accomplish. Many times I've had the privilege of standing before you, and my person next to me would be Sheila Tracy. So we're going to introduce you to our new president. We're very excited, and she's going to say a few words and talk about it. And then, as always, this is our tradition, I'm going to share with you some of the projects that we've identified. So first and foremost, I'd like to introduce the new president of the Northland Regional Chamber, Jenny Johnston. Many of you may have met her previously. She's been with us for about 6 years in a different capacity. This is we're getting ready to start our 30th year. And one of the priorities that we've identified is our role in identifying and working with partnerships in developing the infrastructure that allows us to grow. So I'm going to introduce Jenny. I'll step back up in a few minutes and we'll talk projects. So it's my pleasure to introduce the new president of the Northland Regional Chamber, Jenny Johnston.
Well, good morning and welcome to Kansas City. Sheila did wanted me to pass on some thank yous from her. She really appreciated the recognition and special award that you guys gave her down in Jeff City this last summer. So a couple things we have going on at the Northland Chamber. We recently started a regional transportation task force committee. We are prioritizing projects and looking to identify funding opportunities at local, state, and federal levels for our transportation projects that we have coming up through the pipeline. We also have a seat on Mark's Total Transportation Policy Committee, and we also play a very active and leading role in all the Northland TIF advisory committees, which have invested millions of dollars in transportation and infrastructure projects. So with that, I'll just kind of end it before I turn it over to Darren and saying thank you so much for all your support on the Buck O'Neill Bridge. We had a very fun groundbreaking ceremony this last summer, and we're continuing to work with Massman and Modot and some of the local neighborhoods to work on aesthetics and kind of enhancement opportunities around the bridge to really kind of honor Buck O'Neill's legacy. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Darren Hennon, and he's going to tell you about some of our transportation projects coming up in the pipeline.
Thank you, Jenny.
I think first, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the partnership we have with our local Modot cadre, if you will. Chris Redline. Chris and I actually go back a long way. I was a city manager in a previous life, and Chris was the area engineer. I'm a little surprised he still wants to talk to me today, but so we've had a long relationship, and we were excited when he became our district engineer. Obviously, Patrick, and I'm going to mention a project here in a few minutes, that it was instrumental that Patrick provided the level of support. And then our area engineer, Mark Fisher, has done an outstanding job also on a project that we'll mention. As was previously mentioned, we represent Platte and Clay counties, the fastest growing counties in the state of Missouri. 19% roughly growth in Platte County and a little over 10% in Clay County. Respectfully, that's about 98,000 in population in Platte and 250,000 in Clay. So as we grow, our transportation needs grow as well. And as we have testified before you numerous times, we like to come with a little bit of a plan. And if you will, just briefly allow me, Buck O'Neill was one of our critical and early identified projects. We realized that our people, goods, and services move from north to south, and one of those choke points being the Buck O'Neill Bridge. Early partnerships, not only with the Northland Chamber, Mark, Downtown Council, a number of organizations. That project's a reality today. And then we moved north. If you move in a north-south way, what's next that's going to bottle up that flow of goods? And as Ron mentioned, transportation, particularly freight, is a key component of the Northland. As you'll see, distribution centers created throughout Clay and Platte counties, from Riverside to Horizons to KCI Airport, and then over to Hunt Midwest. Being able to move those goods and services becomes critical. The I-29, I-35 split is then, if any of you have driven that, especially at peak times, it's a single lane road choking into trying to go in and out of 2- and 3-lane interstates. We identified that, as well did Modot, a number of years ago as needing study. And unfortunately, and we all understand we live in a very dynamic world, funding was not available. So we as an organization, the Northland Chamber, and this is where Patrick directly supported us, wrote a grant with our congressional delegation, Congressman Sam Graves, and were successful, and also with our Modot partnership, in receiving $800,000 Pell grant. It was a grant, it's now turned into a Pell. The award of that has been successful. What that does is provides us that planning framework to begin looking at how to improve that entire interchange system. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also identify Mark, Ron and his team, and I am not exaggerating. I think this came together in about 5 days. We had a very narrow window. It was one of the few planning grants that's allowed. If you're familiar with the way the grants came, there's $15 million nationwide. We have $800,000. The local match is actually provided by the city of Kansas City. So as the theme's been today, we talk about partnership. Couldn't be any more true than that particular study. Thanks to Modot, thanks to Congressman Graves, thanks to Mark, thanks to the Chamber, and certainly thanks to the city of Kansas City for their partnership in the local match. So we started identifying those north-south. We still have work to do. I-35 is one of the few interstates that actually comes into the city that remains 2-lane. The continued growth isn't just Platte and Clay counties, it's the counties north of us. But we have identified a couple of projects that we'd like to at least get on the radar. We'll work with the local staff, but I take advantage of today and share this with you. 152, we believe we're rapidly approaching the time to start analyzing the capacity on 152. We have a cost share program with the city of Kansas City and Modot on Platte Purchase interchange. We're upgrading the interchange because what we're realizing is our stacking during peak times is now stacking down into 152 highway. So it gives us an analysis to understand what we need to be doing next. The second one is 291. That's a north or an east-west corridor that basically goes from I-35 to about the Clay County line. Then it becomes, on the Platte County side, it becomes Cooking Inn Road, which is a city road. That's important because a lot of our growth in the county is occurring there. We don't just randomly pick projects. Missouri Department of Transportation has done safety audits on that road. You've identified that there needs to be some improvements. What we're suggesting is it's time now to look, do we make that into a Super 2? These are capacity and safety issues. We're not asking to build interstate systems. We're simply asking that as the growth continues to grow, that we now start looking at that. And then our final corridor would be the 92 corridor. That, for most of you, that would be from Platte City all the way over to Excelsior Springs and over to Richmond. That would be the next corridor we start to look at as these areas grow. So we're looking at bands of east-west, where historically over the last 5 to 6 years, we've talked north-south. Now we're starting to talk east-west, and it's in support of this growth. We recognize that there's a lot of partnerships and a lot of conversations to have. We thought it was important to get here and share that with you, and most importantly, tell you thank you for your continued support. As Jenny mentioned, it's one of our priorities at the Northland Chamber. Chambers have different roles, different capacities. We have very adamantly embraced that our capacity is to serve as identifying transportation, infrastructure growth, as we are in one of those fastest growing areas. So I thank you very much for your time. Welcome to Kansas City. We look forward to seeing you again in the very near future. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Darren. Any questions?
It's not a question, just a comment. Darren, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you, sir.
We know, and Sharon, the transportation needs up there. You guys have been terrific partners. And I know, since you're so tight with Chris, that the team will work with you to try to figure out solutions for all these projects. I'm familiar with every one of them except 92. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I said that publicly so Chris can't hold it against me after you all leave town. So
we understand.
Anyway, it's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thank you. Good to see you. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next public presentation today is from Scott Smith, co-chair of the Big Five Transportation Initiative with the Greater St. Louis City Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Smith, thank you for being here.
Good morning, Chairman Brinkman. Welcome, Commissioners, Director McKenna, Modot staff. As the Chairman said, I'm Scott Smith, and I'm retired from HNTB Engineering and Architecture, but kind of flunking that retirement. Still involved in the community and really honored to serve as a co-chair of the Greater Kansas City Chamber's Big Five Transportation Initiative, along with Mike DeBacker from Burns and Mack, who I think you heard from last night at the reception. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, clearly I'd like to welcome you back to Kansas City. Your visits here have a long and warm history, and you're always welcome here. The Chamber has more than 2,000 members, and we place a high priority on having accessible, well-maintained 21st century transportation infrastructure. It's really critical for our region's economic growth and for the state. Kansas City has a long history as a freight and logistics hub of national and really global significance, and investing to ensure that the multimodal transportation systems are state-of-the-art, safe, efficient, is really vital to the success of our businesses, our workforce, and helps ensure that Kansas City residents have inclusive economic prosperity and a great quality of life that we're really proud of here. Today, I just want to talk about two things quickly. First of all, I want to recognize and celebrate some recent transportation achievements and give credit and thanks where that's due, and then give you an overview of the Chamber's Big Five Transportation Initiative that's kind of laying the groundwork for this next generation of multimodal investment in our region's economy. First of all, as we've talked about, and you're very well aware, the coordination between the Kansas City community, Modot, the federal government, the replacement of the Buck O'Neill Bridge is now underway, and thank you very much for that. The coordination across local, state, federal stakeholders has really shown the willingness of our community to solve its infrastructure problems. And now this 65-year-old deteriorating bridge is going to be replaced by a state-of-the-art new bridge that we know will serve our region, the state, for decades to come. We'd like to thank the Commission, Modot, for its work on the project and your appreciation of how critical the Buck O'Neill Bridge really is to our region. We're also really excited to see the state committing to invest in the future infrastructure through the fuel tax measure that was passed earlier this year, now implemented. It's really showing the world that Missouri is committed to connecting its businesses to global markets in the rest of the world. And that long overdue investment will really help make sure that the infrastructure is safe, accessible for its users, and defend Missouri's position as a logistics hub for the nation. So again, we thank all involved with the bill's passage, including the General Assembly, the governor, the commission certainly, and everyone else that made it happen. We know there'll be more work, more issues to address in the future, but with the recent successes of the Buck O'Neill Bridge, the fuel tax measure, there's a lot to be proud about in transportation and infrastructure in Missouri these days. The second thing I wanted to talk about was this Big Five transportation initiative that the Chamber has underway. In 2011, the Chamber launched its Big Five initiative. And that's really a focus on 5 community-based projects that really build on the region's strengths to make Kansas City the best place to live, work, start a business, grow a business. And those initiatives have included topics in the past like entrepreneurism, the animal health corridor, urban neighborhoods, early childhood education, and now transportation is on that list. Specifically, it's looking at innovative solutions to solve our transportation shortcomings and challenges that are still out there, as we heard from Mid-America Regional Council, and particularly the issues of transit access to jobs and the overall level of infrastructure investment and maintenance of the system. In the Kansas City metro area, less than 10% of jobs are accessible by public transportation in a practical time frame, and that's just unacceptable. And then the second area, the transportation infrastructure, is incredibly important to the business community. It enables trade, powers businesses, connects the supply chain that we're hearing so much about now, and creates opportunities for struggling communities within the region as well. Our historic role as a freight and logistics hub is really threatened and requires this kind of investment to have a modern, efficient, and safe connection to the rest of the world. So within this Big Five transportation initiative, we've got 2 active subcommittees that are working on these issues. The first one is the Regional Transportation Investment Strategies Committee, and that's chaired by Kevin Wallace at HNTB. And the second is Workforce Access. How do we get people to the jobs that are out there? And that's chaired by Clyde McQueen of the Full Employment Council. For the work done in the Regional Investment Strategies Subcommittee, the Chamber's really been working for about 2 years now with Mid-America Regional Council and a lot of other stakeholders, including not only Modot, but Kansas DOT, the Area Transportation Authority, KC Streetcar, the Port Authority, to really get a handle on those priorities and projects that have regional significance. From there, the Chamber's been engaged with the other regional chambers and business organizations like the Northland Chamber that you just heard from, and on both sides of the state line to hear their top transportation projects and priorities for Kansas City. In selecting those, MoDOT has its criteria, MARC has its criteria for prioritizing and selecting them. We've really been talking to the business community about what are those criteria of investments that are most important from a business perspective. And we've identified a few that we're sorting through. First is jobs access, making sure people can get to the available opportunities. Jobs creation, not just during construction, but on a long-term basis. Economic development, freight logistics and reliability, safety. We think our businesses pay a virtual tax due to the high cost of crashes and accidents that are still happening on our systems. Supporting long-term regional strategies, equity throughout the community, and aligning with federal funding and opportunities as those come along. So those are the factors we're looking at to establish priorities from a business perspective. Our goal is to really develop a list of bi-state, both Missouri and Kansas, multimodal transportation projects and priorities that the entire bi-state business community of Kansas City can get behind, support, and advocate for funding in current programs as well as future programs. And that might be at the federal level. It could be additional state level resources, both in Missouri and Kansas, at the local level, and potentially at the Kansas City regional level. How can we invest in our regional infrastructure? We're trying to answer the question, what are the next Buck O'Neill bridges that are out there? And how can we collaboratively get out ahead of those critical needs? This regionally collaborative approach of working with our transportation agencies and the 2-state business community will ensure that the priorities that we eventually agree upon and identify can be leveraged and advocated for investment, not just for the next few bills, but over the next decade or two. And then our other subcommittee, the Transportation Workforce Access, Clyde and his committee are working with regional stakeholders to connect employers to employees where they live using transportation alternative programs. Our work is focused on programs, not just traditional transit, but microtransit, van pools, ride sharing, to directly connect employment clusters throughout the region to where those employees live. For example, they're considering how to best connect employees from the east side of Kansas City with job opportunities on the western outskirts of the metro area and north of the river. We know these subcommittees have pretty aggressive goals, but we literally have dozens of volunteers from the business community who are rolling up their sleeves to work on this. And we're getting great leadership from the chamber staff. Adam Timmerman is leading the effort from the Greater Kansas City Chamber staff. We plan to finalize the project list and strategies next year. We believe it's really critical to our region that the chamber and other business organizations do this work, and it's all in collaboration with the commission and MoDOT and in support of your work. We look forward to keeping you apprised of our work over the next year or two. I look forward to being a resource to the commission and MoDOT as we move forward. So again, welcome back to Kansas City and thank you. Let's stand for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any questions, comments?
I just want to thank you for being here and, being proactive on these issues is something that's really going to push the state forward and help all of us lean into our future transportation needs. So we appreciate the work that you're doing and look forward to working and collaborating with you in the future.
Thank you. We do as well.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, thanks for the presentation and the partnership. What, in your opinion, is the thing that you most need from MoDOT that we can help support your effort?
Oh, MoDOT has been very helpful so far, Chris and the whole team. As we've talked through, we met with not only MoDOT, but KDOT and the transit folks and the streetcar folks, and really talked about some of the same things you're grappling with unfunded needs and major ideas like that. So we're getting great support from those planning efforts that are underway right now. And I think probably just continued dialogue with the whole group of stakeholders as the chamber plays its role as a facilitator and convener to talk about that.
I think there's some really, there are going to be some significant opportunities from a discretionary grant standpoint, particularly when it comes to the access to work using multimodal facilities. So I think there are going to be some opportunities where we can work together over the next couple of years once that federal bill passes to really not only just to plan for this, but to actually start acting on it.
Mm-hmm. Great. Glad to hear that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The next item on the agenda is an action item. Travis Kester, State Design Engineer, will present the bids for our consideration. Travis?
Good morning, Chairman Brinkman, Commission, Director McKenna. It's my pleasure to bring forward the October 15th, 2021 bid opening, where MoDOT received 64 bids on 23 calls. Recommendations today are to award all calls from the October 15th bid opening to the lowest responsive bidder, except for call H01 located in Southeast District. We recommend rejection of call H01 due to excessive bids per section 102.15 of the Missouri Standard Specifications. In addition, we also had a bridge hit in central Missouri, and so we accelerated the job to a couple Fridays ago, and we recommend that the commission ratify the emergency bridge repair award of that job. Chief Engineer Ed Hassinger awarded the job on an emergency basis, so we asked the commission to ratify that award. And finally, in Grundy County, received 3 bids on August 3rd for a stream bank stabilization job. And they have awarded that job, and that's on Route 6 west of Trenton. And we recommend that the commission concur in the county's award of this project. So regular bid opening, ratify the emergency job in Columbia area there on I-70, and concurrent award for the Grundy County stream bank stabilization job. So 3 actions today. That's what we recommend to you.
Thank you.
We accept the recommendation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the motion carries. Travis, do you have an update on the budget?
With our focus on bridges, we had a couple of those in the bid opening today for $5.28 million, which were just right on budget, just 46,000 over budget. That brings us to a date award of a total of 202 of the bridges for $223 million, and we're within $17,000 of the budget for those 202 bridges. So really close for those bridges. So as far as statewide, today's award are $50.7 million, which is a little bit over budget. That brings us to total awards of $420.3 million for this fiscal year, and we're within 0.9% of the budget on those jobs. And we really ramp up next couple of months. We have $246 million in the next bid opening here that's on November 19th, $140 million worth of work for the December bid opening coming up. So a lot of activity going on right now.
Everybody's getting ready for next year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is an action item. Brenda Morris, Chief Financial Officer, and Ted Williamson, CPA, will provide a report on our annual financial report. Brenda?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Director McKenna. Today, we have our external auditors with us from Reuben Brown to discuss the fiscal year 2021 financial statement audit. As was mentioned earlier, per state statute, we are required to have an annual audit of our financial statements. The Commission's bond indentures also require an annual audited financial statements. We choose to prepare an annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR, because we want to maintain a high standard of accountability. And an ACFR is deemed more transparent because of the information it presents. Now, you might notice that the ACFR is a name change from previous years. The acronym for the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the title used previously, when pronounced, sounds like a racial slur. To address this situation, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB, began the process to change the standards last spring to change the name of the annual report. To be in line with our Modot values of being inclusive, we decided to implement early. GASB actually released the statement last week requiring the name change for reports for fiscal years ending after December 15, 2021. An ACFR contains more information than is required by generally accepted accounting principles, including an introductory section that provides general information on Modot's structure, services, and operating environment, and a statistical section that provides financial and demographic trend information useful in assessing Modot's economic condition. The ACFR document is also part of a group of documents that is the accountability report, which is provided to the Joint Committee on Transportation Oversight annually. As stated earlier, we have received an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you can receive. This means the financial statements conform in all material respects to all the reporting requirements. This is the 22nd consecutive year that we've received the opinion. Financial Services is responsible for the compilation of the ACFR, but this really is a department-wide effort, and we could not have received this opinion without everyone's help. While the ACFR is an accounting document, it is quite lengthy and technical. It does contain some good information. The Management's Discussion and Analysis section provides a good overview of the financial activity of the last year, and the Statistical section provides comparative information for a variety of statistics. One of the items discussed in Management's Discussion and Analysis section is the department's financial health based on the information presented in the financial statements. The department's net position increased $980.2 million, or 3.4%, when comparing fiscal year 2021 to 2020. The increase in net position can be attributed to higher cash and cash equivalent balance and an increase in capital assets. The cash and cash equivalents increased $415.5 million for several different reasons. First, we received $206 million in federal funding from the Highway Infrastructure Program's Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, or you might remember CRISA, and used it for scheduled debt service payments. That reimbursement was received and was included in the financial forecast that I presented to you last February, and so has now been committed to future projects. We've received the reimbursement, but we've yet to pay that money out, which is part of the increase in that balance. Another reason is $44.3 million of highway patrol salaries and fringe benefits that would typically be paid from highway user fees was paid from the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Emergency Security Act, or the CARES Act funds. And lastly, deposits in the local fund increased $76.8 million, of which $72.5 million of those deposits are for the Buck O'Neill Bridge project here in Kansas City. Net capital assets, the largest single item on the statement of net position, totaled $31.5 billion and grew by $418.6 million compared to fiscal year 2020. This amount includes the value of Missouri's almost 34,000 miles of highways and the nearly 10,400 bridges. This amount also includes the value of land, buildings, equipment, and vehicles the department owns. From the total net capital assets, $4.6 billion is non-depreciable, mainly from projects that just are not complete yet. For depreciable capital assets totaling $53.8 billion, that is the investment Missourians have made in transportation through user fees. About half of that has been depreciated. Liabilities increased $103.8 million in fiscal year 21. The primary reason for this increase is changes in the actuarial assumptions associated with the pension and other post-employment benefit liabilities. The liability for unearned revenue also increased because of those deposits into the local fund that we just mentioned previously. I'd like to introduce Ted Williamson from Reuben Brown, who will discuss briefly the results of our audit.
Thanks, Brenda. Good morning, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be with you here this morning. As Brenda mentioned, I'm Ted Williamson, partner with the county firm of Reuben Brown, and we did the audit for the department for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2021. So just wanted to briefly summarize the results of that audit. It's important to remember that the purpose of the audit is to determine that your financial statements are accurately presented in accordance with what's called generally accepted accounting principles. As a governmental entity, you follow the principles set forth by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And as part of doing the audit, we follow the auditing standards of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, as well as due to the level of federal funding that you receive, we also follow what's called government auditing standards set forth by the Government Accountability Office of the federal government. Based on that background, we're pleased to report that we did issue an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements. As Brenda mentioned, you've received that opinion now for 22 years in a row. Additionally, we did issue, under government auditing standards, a report on your internal control and compliance. If we had identified what we refer to as any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in your internal controls, we would have had to disclose them in that letter. We're pleased to report to you that we did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in your internal controls. So no such items are identified in that letter. As Brenda also mentioned, the financial statements it's a very thick document. There's the core portion of the financial statements. Then there's some additional sections, the management's discussion analysis, the introductory section, the statistical tables, et cetera. When we do the audit, our opinion is on the core portion of the financial statements. The other items we review to make sure that they're consistent with the financial statements, but it's important to note that the opinion is only on the core part of the financial statements themselves. Fiscal year 2021 was a year in which there were no new accounting policies adopted by the department. That's not true every year. Some years the Government Accounting Standards Board has new standards for you to adopt, but there were none in 2021. It is important to note that in order to prepare financial statements in accordance with the requirements, there are some estimates that have to be made. Brenda mentioned what some of these were, but the key ones are the estimated useful life of your fixed assets, the actuarial assumptions built into your pension and other post-employment benefit liability calculations, collectability of receivables, value of claims and judgments that will have to be paid, et cetera. So one of the major things we do as part of the audit is to look at those estimates and make sure that they are reasonable. And we did believe your estimates were reasonable within the context of the financial statements as a whole. We are pleased to report that we did not identify any corrections that needed to be made to the financial statements during our audit, either ones that management has recorded or corrections that management decided were immaterial and elected not to record. And lastly, we're pleased to report that we did not have any disagreements with management as part of doing the audit. nor did we encounter any difficulties in performing our procedures. So all in all, a very good report from the results of the fiscal year 2021 audit. So with that, I will open it up and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson. Does anyone have questions or comments for Brenda or Mr. Williamson?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say I sat in on the presentation for the audit committee, and it's just outstanding that we got 22 consecutive years of a clean opinion. And I think I asked, I know I asked Mr. Williamson on the conference call, like how do we rank in organizations? I believe your comment is that we are top tier.
Your accounting practice and staff is excellent. It's not uncommon for us in any audit to find at least some adjustments to make to the financial statement, so that the fact that there were none here is an extremely good sign.
So that just confirms what we all know. We got a top tier group.
Okay. Commissioner Rogers.
You know, the citizens of Missouri send a lot of money to Modot. And sitting in these chairs, we get to see a lot of how that money's spent. And we have confidence in Brenda and her team, but to get the seal of approval from the auditors and have a clean report, like Terry said, 22 years in a row, it's just amazing. And so as we represent those citizens, you know, we have to keep an eye on things but man, this is a big deal. And it's something that we need to highlight more so that the people do know that their money's being taken care of and it's well spent. And so I'm just really proud of the financial team and all those, and all the way down to every employee who swipes their credit card or spends a Modot dollar. It's important stuff, and the people of the state should be proud of this organization.
Patrick?
Yeah, I just want to thank you and your firm for your diligence and your work and your partnership working together. I think that is what it takes, because we're here to continue to create the public trust that is required in these roles. But, you know, when we talk about this, I always look at the residual value that's left as a product of our work each year, and it's represented financially with nearly $500 million of additional net assets added to the balance sheet of the state. This is what the citizens own, and despite the age of this infrastructure and the depreciation of it, the accumulated efforts are still heading us in the right track, and by financial recognition by nearly $500 million. So I think that's worth noting. Thank you.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Williamson and Brenda. Way to go. Oh, do you have anything? No, okay. Oh, you're next.
Sorry, getting ahead of you.
The next item is also an action item. Brenda Morse, Chief Financial Officer, will provide a report on the bond authorization.
Yes, good morning again. Today, I'm going to ask you to take several actions related to the issuing of bonds to fund the Governor's Focus on Bridges program. The Focus on Bridges program is using $351 million to improve 250 bridges around the state. Those bridges were identified in the statewide transportation improvement program. Through their actions, the legislature and the governor appropriated $50 million of general revenue to get started with the program, and appropriated the funds necessary to issue bonds for the remaining $301 million. The General Assembly also passed Senate Concurrent Resolution, SCR number 14, that identified the conditions that needed to be met before the commission could issue debt for this program. I'm going to give you a brief reminder of what some of those were. That the bonds could not exceed a term of 7 years, that the first debt payment could not occur until after July 1st, 2020, or or state fiscal year 2021, that the Office of Administration had to execute a financing agreement with the commission to provide funds appropriated on an annual basis from general revenue to the state revenue for debt service. And lastly, that Modot accept a grant from the federal government. Now, while not specifically noted, that was the INFRA grant. So Modot was awarded the INFRA grant in July of 2019 for the Roachport Bridge and the climbing lanes at Mineola Hill. This grant was just one piece in funding this project that will help to address a major freight corridor. With the receipt and acceptance of the grant and a financing plan in place, it triggered the commission's ability to issue bonds for the Focus on Bridges program. To obtain the $301 million of bond proceeds, we are doing 2 issuances to ensure compliance with IRS spending requirements. The first issuance was for $178.4 million of bonds. Those bonds were sold at a premium to receive $201 million of proceeds. The first issuance was under the third lien of the Amendment 3 debt and occurred in November of 2019, so 2 years ago. The transaction being discussed today will be the second and final issuance. The second issuance will be an amount to generate $100 million of bond proceeds. Again, these bonds will be issued under the third lien of Amendment 3. Last month, we met with the 3 credit rating agencies, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch, and presented information related to our debt and this transaction. And I have some good news to share. Standard & Poor's affirmed its current ratings of the Commission's outstanding debt for senior lien and the Amendment 3 debt and assigned a AA+ rating to this issuance. Moody's assigned a AA1 rating for this issuance, and lastly, Fitch assigned a rating of AA+ for this issuance. These ratings are good news, so congratulations on obtaining these ratings. The bonds are scheduled to be sold through a competitive sale on Tuesday, November 16th. The closing, which includes delivery of funds, will occur on December 15th. So I'm going to come back in December and I'll give you a summary of the results of the actual sale. Today, I need the commission to adopt a resolution that allows us to prepare the preliminary official statement and the official statement that states the commission intends to offer for sale and issue third lien state road bonds Series A 2021, authorizes the approval of the related documents. Authorize the secretary to the commission to execute the resolution confirming its adoption by the commission. Authorize the secretary to the commission to execute the Senate Concurrent Resolution 14 financing agreement confirming its adoption by the commission. Authorize the Series A 2021 bonds to be sold through a competitive sale, and authorize the director or myself to execute the financing documents and the related documents for the bond issuance. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Brenda? Patrick? Okay, do we have a motion and a second to approve all those authorizations?
I'll second it if I don't have to repeat it.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna let the record show what she said.
Yeah, bond counsel likes me to say all of the actual actions you're taking, so.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Brenda. The next item on the agenda is about some winter operation and is being presented by Natalie Rourke, State Maintenance Director. Natalie, welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, Chairman Brinkman, Commissioners, and Director McKenna. Natalie Roark, State Maintenance Director. And while it may seem that winter has slowly been creeping up on us, we have been preparing for winter and maintenance for many months. The Old Farmer's Almanac in 2021 says that we will have extreme wintry mix and super cold temperatures for most of Missouri south of Interstate 70. And quote, this coming winter could well be one of the longest and coldest winters that we have seen in years. So MoDOT's response, does that give you a little
It's not
fear?
north of I-70, Natalie.
Natalie, sit down.
That's opposite of what we typically have, so we'll see how this all shakes out. But so responding to winter operations is one of the most critical functions that we serve as a Department of Transportation. It's not only critical to our mission, but it's critical to the safety of the traveling public. And this work is demanding and very long and hard hours for our maintenance workers. We utilize all of our boots on the grounds maintenance workers, temporary emergency workers, as well as additional Modot staff that are safety-sensitive employees that are salary grades 14 and below. To combat winter, it takes 3,400 snowplow operators to be out 24/7, utilizing all of our 1,580 snowplow trucks. On average, we experience 500,000 labor hours worked doing winter operations. And each winter season, we travel over 5 million miles. And this is equivalent to going to the moon and back 13 times. So it's very strenuous labor for our employees. So just to give you an idea on the overall winter cost, last year in 2020 and 21 winter season, we spent nearly $58 million on winter operations and nearly 140,000 tons of salt. On average, we spend $51 million a year on winter operations. You can see in 2015 and 16, we had a low of about 25.2 million. And in 2013 and 14, nearly $75 million spent on winter ops with 3 times the amount of salt. So you can see there's quite a bit of variance in the dollars that we spend on winter operations. So we have to plan accordingly for that variance. Rest assured, this year we have plenty of salt on hand, and we also have our replenishment contract has been finalized in case we need additional salt through the winter months. So the good news is we have plenty of salt. However, as you've heard earlier by the director, our staffing is just continuing to be a huge challenge for Modot. Some of the numbers Patrick shared earlier that on average over the last 5 years, we've lost 600 employees per year at Modot. And the 7 straight months that we've had 70 employees that we've lost, and 4 of those months being 80 or higher. So staffing is just a tremendous challenge that we've been working through. And filling these jobs, especially in a competitive labor market for commercial driver's license, has always been a challenge, but particularly it has just amplified over the last year. So in July, we launched our hiring campaign called Come for the Snow, Stay for the Mow. This was the same campaign that we utilized last year. We hope to encourage maintenance workers to come on for winter operations, but there's also a lot of other opportunities outside of winter operations for a career in maintenance at Modot. Despite our efforts to really launch this program, we were just not successful in filling the positions that we're going to need to be able to respond to a statewide storm that's going to last greater than a 12-hour shift. So unfortunately, it's not where we want to be, but our team has been very strategic in looking ahead at how we can do the best to deliver a successful winter season. So with the high turnover that we're experiencing, there is roughly 20% of our winter operators that have less than 1 year of experience. And, that's very concerning for us. The training is critical to be out on our roadways and responding to winter ops when you're driving, a huge dump truck and out amongst the traveling public. So for any of our new snowplow operators, we require what we call a ride-along, drive-along training. A seasoned operator will ride along with the new operator in a truck for 4 hours during an actual winter event, and then they will switch roles, and the new employee will then drive the truck for 4 hours with that seasoned operator with them. And that's so important so that they can get that experience, like I said, managing during treacherous conditions and driving a snowplow truck. So as you can imagine, that training piece ties up 2 operators in the cab of the truck. So not only are we going to be low on staffing, but we're going to be likely responding with delayed response times to reach our goals in the training efforts as well. The global pandemic continues to be a challenge. Fortunately, those numbers are down for us, so that is slightly in our favor as it stands now. But not only the global pandemic, but any of the viruses that we routinely are confronted with during the winter months. And it's nothing new for our employees to be prepared and to shift resources between buildings in response to an outbreak of a flu virus in a building. So, we are ready to do that and ready to respond. So that's the good thing. One of the other positives that came out of the global pandemic was the hygiene that our employees, between the cleaning of the buildings and the washing of the hands, some of those great habits are continuing. So hopefully we'll see that continue to happen throughout the buildings, and the viruses hopefully won't become an issue. Lastly, a concern is the increased aggressive driving. The reckless driving, the speeding on our roadways has really ramped up over the last year, and that continues. So we are going to ramp up our messaging to the public and encourage them to leave room for our plows and to drive for conditions and to really be diligent traveling during the winter hazardous travel. So as with every year, we had our annual winter drill a couple weeks ago. And again, this is an opportunity for all the experienced plow drivers and all of them to just dedicate a day to go out on our roadways and identify any obstacles that are out, including curbs or raised islands that they may not see during an actual event. They go out to look at their equipment, to calibrate equipment, and to just prepare themselves on the proper snow or plowing techniques and safety overall. The department's Emergency Operations Center activated, and we tested all of our emergency communications. And it was overall a huge success. We had really good media outreach, great coverage, that we had an opportunity to convey what our winter objectives are for Modot, and as well this year had an opportunity to touch on what our staffing shortages are looking like and our potential that we may have some delayed response times this winter compared to in winters past. So, like I said, our winter objectives, we are going to remain the same with our winter objectives. Despite the staffing challenges, it's very important that we are consistent in providing the same results the best that we can. Modot's focus is the highest volume traffic to the lowest volume traffic. We're going to focus on the major roads in the interstates and ensure that they are in mostly clear conditions as soon as possible after the storm is over. However, again, with the staffing, it's going to likely take longer for us to have it to mostly clear conditions after the storm is over. And then we'll shift those priorities over to the less volume roads, the minor roads, and focus on the hills, curves, and intersections, applying our abrasives to make sure they are in good two-way travel. And this year, particularly, we're going to try to get ahead of the storm, 48 hours, having our winter weather conference call with the National Weather Service so that we can get ahead of it with our communication and consistent communication to provide advance notice to the traveling public of the conditions. And as we do that, we will look ahead at the staffing, the training, and develop the talking points to be specific to areas of the state where we may have those delays in response. So since the hiring push in July and seeing that we have not progressed in the staffing like we were hoping to do, we have been meeting with the district maintenance leadership and central office maintenance leadership, having weekly calls and situational awareness on the staffing, and then also just winter preparations in general. The team takes this very seriously and as a service to the citizens of Missouri. And there's a bit of apprehension overall by us, just given where we're at with the staffing challenges that we're seeing. So thinking outside the box, being strategic, developing some heat maps on a county by county basis that identify where we're at with our staffing levels, where we're at with training, impacts to equipment, and really thinking outside the box strategically what we can do to deliver the best service that we can. So I'm amazed by the great response by our team, the superintendents, the buildings on the ideas, partnering with our neighboring states, looking ahead at communication in advance of the storm, and then also just sharing some best practices by other state DOTs and with Missouri. One of the tools that we utilize is the GeoTab AVL GPS, which allows us to identify the location of a plow truck when it's out on the roadway. So this year, we're going to really encourage our customer service staff, our EOC operators to use GeoTab when we have a customer call out that wants us to go out to a slick spot, that we can just hop online and know exactly where a truck is at, if it's en route to that location where we have an incident, where we have a slick spot, and we can manage that internally rather than having our buildings and our supervisors having to respond to those calls. We can manage it and allow them to focus on the task at hand, being out on the road. So on a storm-by-storm basis, we will continue to monitor that staffing and prepare the communication, really drilling down to where the impacts are throughout the state. So we will have messaging to the public that will set those expectations and encourage them to plan ahead. If they do not need to travel, we would highly recommend no travel at all. But if they need to, then we're going to refer them to our traveler information map to look at the road conditions, and also reach out to our 24-hour customer service call center that can give the conditions throughout the state. So we really intend to ramp up that messaging, again, sharing where the impacts might be on a statewide or regional basis where potentially delayed response times may occur. And as always, safety is a shared responsibility between Modot and the traveling public. And that's part of the messaging that we want to convey as well, that just having the public as a partner and doing their due diligence to really pay attention to the roads in their area and the storm events that are occurring throughout the state. And lastly, just to share with you, emergency operations centers, we will activate those on a statewide basis. We have an excellent relationship with our partners between the governor's office, Department of Public Safety, the State Emergency Management Agency, and working together with them on a situational basis per storm, having that early communication and keeping our EOC activated to give real-time information to the traveling public, and keep that activated until the storm itself has passed and roads are back to normal. So that is the information I was going to share with you today.
Thank you, Natalie. Any discussion?
Natalie, this is good presentation. Sounds like you're ready. You're just short a few drivers.
Yes.
If I had my CDL, I'd sure apply.
Yeah, for sure.
We can get you one.
Wait.
Natalie,
Natalie, what about moving equipment and manpower from one district to another to help out? Do we do that? And
Yes,
how
we
does that
do.
work?
We do. And I actually meant to mention that, so I'm glad that you brought that up. So we do, and that's one of the strategies that we're really focusing on, is shifting resources between the buildings when we can, obviously, with the staffing. Some of the pockets of the state have staffing challenges overall, so we're limited in doing that. But we also mobilize strike teams if we have a regional event that we can shift resources from one area of the state completely to another area of the state, then we're going to encourage that as well. And those types of conversations are run through our incident commander. One of the challenges as well, though, with that is the unfamiliarity of the routes by the operators. So it's a safety balance, and we don't want to put an employee in a situation where they're not comfortable driving on an unfamiliar route. So we have to take that all into consideration for sure.
And Natalie, I know you guys got a tough job ahead of you, and that information was great. I just wish there was a way that the general public knew all what goes on behind the scenes, because I think a lot of us just take it for granted that the roads are going to get cleaned in a snowstorm, and I know it's going to be a challenge this year. And so I just want to reiterate, I think it's imperative that we're doing the right thing and trying to move forward with a improved pay plan. So hopefully we don't have to experience this again in the future.
Yes, thank you all for that.
So I have a question. With all the engineers in this room, have we tied out the Farmer's Almanac to the last 7 years as to what it said and what occurred?
No, I have
believe
not.
it's
I've
wrong.
always had the same question,
Becky,
though.
who has? Becky, how is it doing?
It depends. The old Farmer's Almanac, I'm a little more in tune with, and I think that's a little more accurate, but they will let you know. I pay very close attention to Mother Nature, and I have acorns on my desk, and I pay attention to the woolworms and the fox and August.
Oh, good. I'm glad we have it covered. Thank you, Natalie.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, one thing to put this in context to follow on with Commissioner Ecker, I think it'd be important if, let's assume we were at full staff. And I'd ask Becky to give you a kind of a rundown of what that means and how we compare to our neighboring states. Now, every state's different, the management of how they have to operate. But just to give you an idea of the efficiency of the Modot team in the first place and the challenge that we put on our team, if we were to compare, our staff and equipment by lane mile to other states, and if we're assuming that we're 100% covered with our work plan, which we're not, but if you could give us a little bit of a comparison, just briefly for the commission and for the public.
We pay a lot of close attention through our ASTRO agencies and our groups, and there's one in particular, SICOP, which is Snow Ice Control group across the United States, and we do a lot even with European countries. But they collaborate all the data of the resources that all the states have. And out of the states that actually get measurable snow, which there's some of the southern states that have more resources per lane mile than MoDOT does, but we are dead last. So the resources that we have per lane mile, we are showing that we spend the least amount of money per lane mile, and we have the least amount of resources. So having every truck fully staffed and operated, hard not to compare yourself to Illinois. When I was raised in St. Louis, and we get compared to IDOT consistently, but they have triple the resources that we do per lane mile, triple the operators, triple the people, and they spend triple the money. So even states that used to be pretty comparable to us, the state of Kansas, they've surpassed us in just the resources they have per lane mile to fight these storms. So in a lot of situations, especially in the rural part of the state, one plow truck, and that's if we have them all fully staffed, might be assigned 100 to 150 lane miles. Even in the urban area, we might have 20 to 25 lane miles. That's if we have every truck up and running. Urban areas in a lot of other states are 8 to 10 miles that are assigned to that truck. So there's a tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of efficiencies, innovations like the tow plow that allow more than one lane to be clear at a time with only one operator. Looking at some other, the same thing we've done with those TMAs that we're trying to take that driver out, that lead follow. We're looking ahead into some innovations that will allow us to do that with winter operations as well. So very, very efficient. And we get the most of our ideas, the efficiencies, and just the collaboration from those operators in the field. Those are the experts that have been doing this. People like Greg that would tell us, here's what we need, here's the tools, here's the most efficient thing that we can do to get those roads clear as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the work that you do. The maintenance supervisors or superintendents throughout the state, they bear a lot of this during winter maintenance. And, I wondered, I got to be a part of some of these emergency operation calls last year and got to talk to the maintenance superintendents throughout the state after the big winter storm that we had last year. And, I couldn't wrap my head. I'm a square brain engineer, so I couldn't wrap my head around how, with the resources that we have, we were getting this work done. After talking to the maintenance superintendents in the state, it's no surprise to me how we get this done. They find ways, they're passionate, they care about the people around, and they care about the general public, and take a lot of pride in the work that's done day to day. So, I mean, you know, being dead last, but still providing the level of service that we do is super impressive. We appreciate it very much. And, you know, hopefully with the resources that we have coming down the road and the changes that we're making, hopefully we're gonna help on our end with those challenges. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Boatwright. The next item on the agenda is an update about Kansas City District from Chris Redline, Kansas City District Engineer. Welcome, Chris.
Good morning, Chairman Brinkman, Commissioner McKenna. I looked at my personal almanac today. Granted, it's not scientific. It says sunny and 60 all winter. I'm going with that for now.
That makes us feel better.
Keep it on this direction. Just a couple quick thanks before I get going. We really appreciate that. You do a great job. Thanks to your team. Mary and your team, contractors, thank you very much for the tour yesterday. A lot of good information was shared. I think the commission enjoyed it. We got good feedback, and our partners outside Highway Patrol, I always appreciate them helping us out at these events and every day. So with that, here's what Kansas City District is. We have 9 counties, about 1.3 million people, about 3,100 miles, but we have so many 6-lane sections. It's really about 8,000 lane miles to maintain. And these challenges won't surprise you. We're dealing with them across the state, but our turnover and retention is a big problem. Natalie talked about upcoming winter. I'll get into that a little bit. We're dealing with more homeless population all the time, and then litter has really come to the top too. Here's right on staffing. I believe we're leading the state in turnover. We have an 18% turnover rate here. We really started pushing hiring early July, and when I prepared this presentation, we had hired like 12 people in all of maintenance, and I believe we lost lower 30s in maintenance folks at that same time. So we actually lost about 20 when we were trying to hire. We've had 115 separations in 2021. And we currently have around 61 maintenance vacancies. I think that's a little higher than that, not much. So that's where we sit today. And for some perspective, 61 is between 20 and 25% of our workforce being down on the boots on the ground category. So we're talking about the actual operators. This is an interesting chart. It surprised me, as dramatic as it was, but this is a list of customer service calls regarding homeless and litter starting in 2015 going to today. And you can see for the homeless side, in 2015, we had 5 calls all year long. We've had 82 so far to date in 2021. Litter, we had 115 calls in 2015 and 869 litter calls so far this year. This tells me a couple of things. One, the biggest one is that this is a staffing issue because, you know, when staff, and Greg can speak to this more than anybody, but when your staff shrinks in your building, prioritization becomes even more critical. So we prioritize based on incident response priorities. And the highest priority are the things that affect safety. So those get done first. So when staff shrinks, I would expect more litter to be on the highway because litter on the side of the road is not a safety issue. Unfortunately, that is so visible to the public. We get all the calls. But stuff like this tells me our folks are looking at the right things when it comes to prioritizing their work and putting safety first. Things a little slow. Thank you. Now for some good news. A couple projects I want to highlight today. The first one is 435 River Bridge over the Missouri River. It's commonly called the Randolph Bridge. This is about a 3,000-foot long bridge, and we redecked it. We took the deck off, put a new deck on for a cost of about $32 million. You know, to put a new structure in the river would have been, I don't know, a couple $100 million. But doing this project will get us another 25, 30 years of good life out of it. But this route carries 81,000 cars a day. And so how do you do it? That was the question. What we end up doing is do it in 4 phases so we could keep 2 lanes in each direction. This has been going for a while. It started early last year, and I drive this twice a day on the way in. I come in so early I don't get to see the backup, but on the way home, I'm right in the backup, and I think the longest I've ever had to wait is 5 minutes delay is all. So the delays aren't crazy bad. So this has actually been a very, very good project. Now I'll talk a little bit about the Buck O'Neill. We started this year. We plan to be open in December of 2024. Again, it was highlighted yesterday and today is the partnership with Kansas City, Missouri. We wouldn't be talking about this project like we are if it wasn't for the city. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to go into all the details on the phasing, but what is this project going to accomplish when it's done? A couple things. One, it's going to get rid of a bridge that we needed to replace badly and the region thought needed to be replaced badly. And secondly, there's about 45,000 cars that take the Broadway Bridge and they all dump into a stoplight. And so what this project's going to do is that if you want to take I-30, if you're I-35 traffic right now, you have to stop at the stoplight and maneuver to get back on the interstate. You're going to have a dedicated lane and bridge going to I-35. So those folks will keep going. They won't stop. If you want to go to downtown coming from the north, you just peel off and drop onto Broadway. So this is going to be great for a lot of folks. And the traffic impacts are pretty light for now. Clear through next year, we'll have 4 lanes open. In early 2023, we're going to have to close the southbound 2 lanes for about 600 days because the project overlaps and there's no other way to build it. But we've had that bridge closed before on an unplanned basis and people find their way around pretty good. And like I said, there's a lot of details in here for you to review if you'd like. Now I'd like to highlight one of our, we have a lot of crown jewels here, but this is ER is a good one. The purpose, it used to be motorist assist in the day. And we got pickup trucks with red stickers on the side and found a light to put on top. And our operators were in kind of red jumpsuits. I've seen some old pictures. And we've come a long way. We are a high-class operation now. And you can see how many assists we do. This is just the third quarter results. We're looking at almost 6,500 assists in the third quarter of 2021. We're able to get to them in about 7 minutes, clear them in about 13. And we help a ton of people doing this, but I'll just read a few comments that we have from the public. I can't say enough good about the help that I got that night. He was able to plug the tire and get me back on the highway, and I can't thank him enough for stopping. I want a supervisor to know how much I appreciate him stopping to help me, and that was our operator, Carlos Campos, that did that. Another comment, Mr. Hector Ortiz responded to my car stalled in the through lane on southbound 71 at 59th yesterday. He and the tow truck driver were so kind and helpful in a stressful situation, made sure I was okay, and did everything helpful and not pushy or rushing. He should be recognized as over-the-top customer care. That's from Sid. And the third comment I'd like to share is that I'd like to express my opinion about this wonderful Modot employee you all have in Daryl Smith. I had a tire blowout on the highway today, and I called for roadside assistance. But this most professional and respectful Modot employee pulled over behind me and offered to assist me. He was the utmost professional, cordial, and kind. People tend to only complain, so I wanted to let Modot know you have a keeper in this guy. So, and we get a lot of these comments like this. ER is a good job to have because people are in trouble and you help them and get them going. And the benefit to the highway system is that we clear those incidents because a lot of those incidents become crashes. And that's really the huge benefit in this. The side benefit's helping people. The big benefit is getting our road operating. And they do more than just help people. When there's big crashes, they set up traffic control to help PD. We coordinate with Kansas City Scout to get ER in and get those roads open as fast and safely as we can. So there is a lot to it. With that, I'd I'd like to recognize Greg Morgan. He's with Emergency Response. And the reason I wanted to recognize him is because I don't know if you call it a Modot birthday or Modot anniversary, but November 1st is when he started, but it was in 1978. So he's one of our most. But he's here representing the entire ER team, but personally I wanted to recognize him too. He's always been super great to work with and incredibly dedicated. Obviously, he told us chatting before with Ed, he said, this was my first job and this is going to be my last job. So.
Started in 1978, been here ever since, first and last job. Worked in maintenance, started in maintenance, worked in striping for a number of years. Now I'm in ER, and it's a great place to work. I mean, you got great leaders, you got great people. Years don't really matter to me. It's about the people I work with, it's about the team that I have. So, I mean, I'm still enjoying it, I still love it, and like I said, I appreciate it. Red Line. This is the first time I ever came to something like this, and it's enjoyable to meet people I haven't met. But like I said, I'm still enjoying it, and I don't even. Everybody asks me, when you go, when is the end? I said, shoot, I'm still at the beginning. So, I'm still enjoying what I do. Like I said, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and to close it out, you've heard a lot about the statewide safety reset. We obviously did that here. This is a sticker that Chris Scholl, he's a maintenance superintendent up in the Northland, created to put on the driver's side door of the dump trucks, just as one last reminder, hey, I got to get a spotter, got to do my circle check, whatever. So this kind of caught wildfire in Kansas City. And if they aren't on all our dump trucks now, they're going to get on real quick. And that was actually driven by the field to do that. So you'll probably see that Innovations Challenge. So it's just a final reminder. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Don't answer that.
Yeah, do we still do the customer surveys? Do we still hand out the customer surveys, Greg? The customer surveys to the folks you help? Yeah, do you hand the survey out still? Okay, yeah, we hand out the survey. No, our folks don't take money. We've had instances where people, all our guys are real good about saying, no, we aren't taking tests, but sometimes they'll just throw a $20 bill in the window and run away. And we just turn that over to our financial folks and it goes into the road fund. So.
All right. Well, nice presentation. Thanks. And
thank you.
Congratulations on your new district engineer. So the next item on the agenda is a public comment period. Members of the public who didn't schedule a presentation before the commission may speak to the commission on transportation-related issues. Your comments are related to 5 minutes per person, 10 minutes per topic. Madam Secretary, do we have any? No comments today. Okay. Which will bring us to the commission's concerns. Typically, at the end of each meeting, we like to provide each commission member an opportunity to share any concerns or comments they may have today. I'll start with Commissioner Eckert. And do you have any concerns or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, first of all, I want to thank the Kansas City Chamber for the reception last night. It was great to get to talk to some folks down there at the Union Station, and I was kind of surprised, I shouldn't have been, that they already got their Christmas decorations out down there. Also want to thank Chris and his team for helping with the meeting and the tour yesterday. I really want to thank Murray for a great presentation, and Massman Construction did a great job down there, and then congratulations on all the awards, and looking forward to having another table full of awards in a few years. It's really an exciting project, and I can't wait to come back and look at the progress as it transpires over the years. Want to congratulate Keith on his award. That's fantastic, unbelievable. It's already been said that Brenda in Financial Services, congratulations on 22 years of a clean opinion. That's just amazing. I also want to recognize someone who snuck in after the meeting started, Mr. Matt Berry, who's with Congressman Graves' office. And I'd like for him to pass on to Congressman Graves the thank you for all his help that he does with transportation. And we're looking forward to exciting things in the future if they ever get something passed up there in DC. But be sure and pass that along to him. It's been said about how great, and we all know how great our employees, but I sent this out to Pam, I think it was a week or so ago, but in the local paper in my area, I live in Northwest District, and a lady took out an ad in the shopper, and it probably cost her a couple $100. And I'm going to read it to you. It's just big, a thank you. And it says, I would like to say thank you to the Missouri Department of Transportation for the great job of mowing the highway right-of-way and for fixing the potholes on State Highway EE. It is much appreciated, Ruth Wake. And for her to go to that effort, it just goes to show you that the public is watching us. And they do appreciate just the little things so much that it's exciting times. I mean, this is one of the first meetings that we've really had that looks like we're going to have some money to spend to do things. And it just shows you that the public is watching us and that they're very appreciative for just the little things that we do. And so I wanted to pass that along. So in closing, I know winter operations are going to be a challenge, but I think working together, we'll get that done. And I just want to say, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving, be safe, and buckle up and phone down.
Thank you, Commissioner Eckert. Commissioner Boatright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I scribbled down a few notes here, and I'm just going to focus on one thing. The thing that kept resonating in my head while I was sitting here today was team. And you start looking at the partners that we have with the chambers, with the planning authorities, with the Modot staff, with our builders, with Massman Construction, and the contractors throughout the state. You know, the reason that we're in the position that we're in is not by a single entity. It's not by a single person. It's by a team effort that all of this is coming together, and we're to a point that we're going to move infrastructure in this state forward in such a way that our future generations are going to benefit just as we have benefited. So it's very exciting to see this Modot team. I have full confidence that with the workload that we've got coming, even with a short staff, that we're going to execute. This team has proven it time and time again that they can, when they're asked to step up to the plate and to get the work done, they do it every time. And that is very much appreciated. You know, a good example of this is the Focus on Bridge program. That was work above and beyond what we had already had programmed for the year. And Brenda and your team and the rest of the Modot team figured out ways of best utilizing the funds that we already had in the pipeline. And, you know, at this point, over 200 bridges being built is a big deal. And we did all of this during COVID, by the way. So, you know, moving forward with the program load that we're going to have. It's going to take all facets of the Modot team to make sure that we can execute and do this important infrastructure work for future generations. So I'm just excited to be a part of it. And, the commission stands to be supportive and do what we can on our end to help in any way move this forward. So thank each and every one of you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you.
They always take your thunder.
I know, and they've got it. Happy Thanksgiving, Mary Miller, all the presentations, Brenda, you got everything I had on here. But anyway, the tour was very interesting, Mary, yesterday. We appreciate it. And TJ with Maston, we appreciate it. Looks like it's going to be a great job. I still can't visualize that bridge coming off as high as those power lines. When we went under it yesterday, I was looking up there. It's very good. So I hope it's a safe project for everyone, and we really appreciate you guys. I'm going to kind of shut her down here.
Okay,
I don't have a lot
leave
to
some
say.
more
I'm
in.
on the now plan.
Yeah.
Right now, I know everybody's ready to get over here. I'm ready for lunch. So, but anyway, happy Thanksgiving. Buckle up, phone down, travel safe. Thank you.
Commissioner Waters. Well, if Greg's pushed to get done, I'm scared to even talk.
Stay that way.
This has been a great day. I feel like it's kind of been a meeting of partners. We've had Mark and the Northland Chamber and the Kansas City Chamber, and thanks for the reception last night. That was great. Had an opportunity to talk to several people. The Champ Clark folks, great job, great recognition. That was kind of the first big project. When I got on the commission, I kind of feel like I cut my teeth on that one because I learned so much during that process. And then to see Buck O'Neill yesterday was amazing. We pushed pretty hard for that one, and to see, drilling and iron going into the ground, and it's really fun to see. Makes it fun to be a part of this organization. Yesterday, Patrick and Ed and Eric, I thought that just got me fired up. There's so much that we've got laid out in the future. We've got a lot of challenges, but these challenges are different than the challenges that I've seen the last 6 years on the commission. These are great challenges. These are challenges that when we meet them, we're going to see progress. We're going to see things happen in this state. And so that yesterday's meeting just got me excited. So thank you guys for all that work leading up to that. Finally, there's a group sitting over in this corner, doesn't get much recognition, but they were out the other morning, like somebody said 6:30. It was cold, and they were unloading stuff on the dock out there to get this room prepped and ready to go. And then you see all these monitors and microphones, and they got us plugged into our iPads here, and bringing me ice for my Coke this morning. These guys are a traveling crew, and they do a great job, and they deserve to be recognized. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Briscoe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be as brief as I can. Natalie, I appreciated your report and discussion about the preparation for winter and the challenges we'll have, and let's work to all get through that. I enjoyed and appreciated the tour at the Buck O'Neill Bridge yesterday, and now I've made a note to always wear my waders when I come back. I think there was a lot of presentations this morning, and I appreciated all those, and I think they're wonderful. And the Champ Clark Bridge, of course, is up there in our neighborhood in northeast Missouri, and I'm glad, I'm pleased and proud of the recognition that has been given because of that, and especially to see a country boy from northeast Missouri like Keith Killen get some recognition. I think that's pretty cool too. And as Tom has said, and others have and will, we're all, I think, very excited, all this, everybody on this commission, I think, very excited about, I'll say, our financial future, which looks a whole lot better than it has in my last 5+ years on this commission. And that's really makes me happy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I don't have much to add to that, except that was fun yesterday, meeting TJ and your young engineers up there. And I looked around, there were 20 engineers on that dock that wish they had those new hard hats you guys got. And that they could go out there and spend the next 4 years building that bridge. And I don't like to repeat stuff, but 22 years, that's amazing. Congratulations. Yeah. So, that's all I have. Before we adjourn, I want to note that the next meeting is December 1st, 21, and we'll be in Jeff City next month. Do we have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. You can tell they're ready. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.
Good job, Bob.